Mighty Car Mods have been around for a really long time now and built a heap of super awesome cars, often with a deep and personal connection. But out of all of those cars, which one's their favourite? Well, today, we're going to find out. Boys, it's been a long time now, so of the whole of Mighty Car Mods, how many years?
We started in 2008, so this year it's been 15 years. And you, Scotty, young and bushy-tailed, you first appeared in an episode of Mighty Car Mods almost 10 years ago. There was some MX-5 stuff.
Yeah, that was mad.
And we were myth-busting some performance chips.
Yep.
10 years, Scotty.
A lot of experience, a lot of times have changed since then.
We got hooked though, because like tuning the cars, making them awesome, that finishing touch, your skills, like making them drivable, and so many of them still work and run beautifully like the day we did them.
And we're bringing you so much weird stuff all the time. I appreciate that. Like over the time we've been doing the show, we've probably done 150 builds or so, maybe even more. And we're like, here's an A series running on ethanol. Here's an RX-7.
Here's the car,
here's an LS.
Here's an engine in a car that literally no ECU exists for. Can you make it work?
Probably over the time, 150 cars. Challenges. What do you reckon's been the most challenging one that you've done?
Probably his enthusiasm for Civics has been a constant challenge for me. Technical challenges maybe something different.
I knew you sort of like him. No, the midget we did recently, the little Daihatsu midget truck, we put a 1 litre in it, which no one had done before, a big block, there's no engine mounts, there's just no parts. We had to go to Japan to get a bunch of parts for it.
Which we brought home on a plane in a suitcase.
Thoroughly enjoyable, challenging in a good way, but also difficult. So that's kind of, on the outside you go, it's just a little truck, what's the big deal? Then you see it do a skid and you're like, and it sounds amazing. So.
And I remember with that one, the bleeding of the cooling system that took half the day on the dyno.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Chaos.
You guys would have to have your personal favourites, the ones that you didn't kind of want to put aside or you didn't want to sell off.
There are some cars that come and go and there's some that stay.
There's some that won't leave.
They won't leave because we don't want them to, or I want his to leave but they won't. But I reckon on my list would be the cars that are cumulatively are just the best cars that we have. They're the ones that I own. Okay. No, they are. They're we could sit there and decide.
They're Nissans. Okay.
Exactly, right? And so how many Nissans have you got?
2.
What, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait on, didn't I buy them for you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I know what my favourites are, and one of them that you have is a rear-wheel drive, early, sort of a Nissan, a Datsun.
The NX Coupe, yep.
Nah. You know that I'm Datsun through and through. So everyone's going to know exactly which car's the one that I'm into.
So we'll show you a couple of our favourites, and then together we can crown the ultimate winner.
So by the looks of it, you and I will crown the ultimate winner.
That's right.
And I'll
Marty will
chop
just
all of
deal
you
with
because my cars are just better and faster in every way.
All right, should we go and have a look?
Let's go and have a tour.
Awesome. We got a short drive because we're going to Super Garage.
So this would have to be one of your favourites, mate, and I know how much grief Moog gives you about the Hondas.
Well, I know you love Civics, which I don't understand.
Honestly, I'm not being smart. I love them simply because they drive good. You put a K anything in there.
Yeah.
It's a seriously powerful street car.
Yeah, can be. They got potential. I never really understood them. And what we try and do is sometimes when we don't understand them, dive in. Because otherwise, it's easy to sit back on the thing and say, I think those cars are shit, but you've never actually done it and experienced. So this was $300 off Marketplace, plus a B motor, which was a B16A, which we then put into it, and it turned out to be one of the biggest jobs. And it was very difficult. No Honda knowledge, no pre-existing knowledge for me. But we painted it yellow because I know you like yellow Evos. So
I agree.
It looks legit.
Probably does look familiar.
Yeah.
I had my yellow Evo 9, very, very similar colour. And the driving experience, Evo 9 is a pretty unassisted, raw sort of car. This thing, it's the same sort of feeling.
It can be. I get it way more than I ever did. I still wouldn't pick one as my all-time ultimate favourite car in the whole world, but I'm proud of this one because it went from, like I said, a $300 Marketplace thing that no one wanted that was bright orange to looking like this, and I think it looks great.
So Scotty, this here is up there with one of my favourites. This is my 1994 Nissan. It's got a Type X conversion, SR20, black top, T28 turbo from a Silvia, running a Haltech ECU, of course, and mad Recaro interior. This is the car I always wanted as a kid, but my S13 Silvia, non-turbo, got stuck in a bushfire, burned to the ground. I imported a 180SX from Japan, and then we've had a few of them on the show, but this here is the car I couldn't afford to build when I was a kid, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it properly. With your help, with the help from Marty, we actually managed to do this, and now this here is up there with one of my favourites. And I know people make huge power with them, and my goal with this, that I remember when I first rang you and you had a laugh, I was like, I want to make a 180SX with 180 kilowatts. And after you had a giggle, I remember you saying, actually, that makes a whole lot of sense. You don't need to make 500, 600 kilowatts for a daily driven car. 180, it's still 50 or 60 more than they came from the factory, and it's just the bit of spice that it needs.
On the dyno, we always talk about area under the curve. So using this thing up to 100 k's an hour and enjoying it on the street,
Yeah.
I can understand why you're saying. So you're saying this is your favourite car?
This is up there. This is not my favourite. It's close, but there's actually something else I want to show you. So,
All right, but it's a keeper.
It's a keeper until it's got to fund the next keeper. But yeah, no, this one will be around for a long time.
Too sexy. So it was a show car. Like, I mean, we grew up through the show car era, so you remember, right? You used to run the dyno or something?
Well, I think I remember dynoing this actual car back in the auto salon era, 2002, 2003.
Yeah. So this started out as a legit like show car. Someone had tried to build it as a show car. You know, white paint, red vinyl interior, massive chromies.
Subwoofer?
Oh yeah, massive 15-inch subwoofer in the back, all that stuff. And we just unmodified it. And then I went, oh, it'd be cool to have it as a track car. And things just snowballed, and now it's got a 2.4 litre out of a later model Lancer with a massive Garrett turbo on the front and big banana manifolds. And it's
the motor this motor, the newer 2.4 Lancer engine, it's an unappreciated engine.
Yeah.
Admittedly, there probably aren't a heap of them left, I wouldn't think. But that is a seriously powerful engine, and it's still going.
Yep, and it made 230 kilowatts on your dyno. And sometimes you go, oh, only 230 kilowatts. But then I took it to the drags, and just out of nowhere, it did a 12.6 or something.
This looks menacing when you walk up to it. You think, oh, something's going on.
All it does is it falls into that trap a little bit where you get with track cars, where it becomes a trailer queen, and then you can't just take it to the track for a quick, blast out with your mates or something. It's like it's a big deal to get it to and from the track, which is the reason why I don't use it that much. But it still works as good and starts as the day we did it. Like, still runs ethanol, still has all the ECU stuff through there. I borrowed the seats out of it to put in Supergramps, but we won't talk about that.
I do love these, and I've got a soft spot for this and that Mirage kind of era because at the time they were very cool cars at the time.
This is definitely at the top of my list, but it's still not my absolute favourite.
So it's not the Honda, it's not a Mitsubishi. Let's just go straight to your favourite.
This is it. This is the piece de resistance of Mighty Car Mods right here. This is my Mini. So this here is a Japanese import. I brought it in as a stock car. It went through a couple of iterations, and I do believe that this was your most frustrating Mighty Car Mods build, correct?
For me, this was it because this thing gave me nightmares because the fuel injection on the Siamese port A-series cylinder head, remember it's got 2 inlet ports to feed the 4 cylinders.
Because what we wanted to do is we wanted to make the world's first supercharged A-series running on ethanol. We did it. Turns out there's a reason no one else does it. It was absolutely terrible. So we fixed all of that with this engine here. So this is a B16B from a Civic Type R, 1.6 litre. It fits, it's engineered, it's legal, it makes fantastic power. My very first cars when I was young, I had a Holden Chimera and a classic Mini. One of those is memorable, one is not. I had my L's, I was driving around the Mini. The moment I got my P's, I would drive it around, pick up cute girls from school and give them a lift home. And, I felt like a Mini was an exciting, awesome car to have. And so now I guess in a way I kind of relive that, but in a modern way.
It's funny that later on you want to go straight back to that.
It's locked in there. It's locked in there.
And look, now as you get older, you get a bit more funding and you can finally build the car the way you wanted or you pictured it when you bought it back at school.
That's exactly right. And the Mini was the first car that I actually started working on. Like Marty was working on little remote control cars and projects from a very, very young age. For me, I was spending all my time doing my music practice, playing piano, drums and guitar. And so for me as a 16 or 17-year-old, I started getting into DIY and doing servicing and stuff. And I remember a friend showing me that to make my tape deck work, I didn't need to run a cable to the negative side of the battery. I can just grind a bit of paint off the floor and ground it there. And I was just like, what? What are you talking about? There's like negative energy going throughout the whole car. I mean, this me as a 16-year-old just blew my mind. And so this was the car that I learnt these kind of basic mods on. And so that's why I love it.
The modifications on this thing, super tasteful now.
Yes.
The best thing to come out of a Honda, excellent. It goes into a Mini and it just makes it like a good thing.
It makes each of them better.
Yeah.
Removing the engine makes it better. Putting it in here makes this better. I think the other thing about Minis is there's a culture and a history of these being modified, and personified in the way that people like them. And I took this to a classic Mini meet, and I was a little scared lifting up the bonnet, like going, what are they going to think? And I met all of these older guys that had had them for years, and they went, Minis are about modifying cars, and it's about expressing it the way that you want. We see a lot of stuff on the internet. You can't do a car like this. If it doesn't have 1,000 horsepower, we don't want to know about it. There's all these kind of rules, and with Minis, it just seems to be a little bit more broad in its acceptance. And so I love that as a kind of culture. And I'm a member of the Mini Club, and that's the only car club I'm a member of. And yeah, I really enjoy being part of their community. It's really cool.
So tell me, do you still drive this thing?
Yeah, so this is a car that I drive on regular rotation, you know. So some of the cars that we have here, mostly Marty's that are broken, they get stored up until they're fixed. But this one here, I'm still driving it. And you've driven it. How was your experience?
The driving position for me, the power
We've
level...
seen the memes. Insert the memes.
VTEC, yo. The power level for me where this thing is a seriously powerful car, and for me to borrow your car like this,
Yeah.
this is an acquired taste. There's a skill level to drive this car.
That's right. It has an auto lane changing feature where it changes lanes without you requiring it to. So that is an acquired taste.
And you know what? Front wheel drivers with small wheels and big horsepower, that's one driving style. I'm probably more acclimatized to the rear drive, locked diff, bigger power, also changes lanes, but
it's doing it sideways.
it's just a different flavour.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think I might have something for you, and I'm starting to have a little sniff at what your favourite might be, and it smells like burning rubber.
Now, Marty, this one, I get it,
Yeah.
but this is not finished, so it can't be your favourite, but I can absolutely see some inspiration. I can see colouring, I can see the wagon, the boxer-style engine, the four-wheel drive, the symmetry.
We drove this around London, remember?
We did.
When it
And
was
this-
2.5 litre.
And this is a magnificent car.
Yeah.
It just had a few little problems like
Like not enough power.
not enough power. Yeah.
A little problem.
Well, it's a pretty big problem at the moment.
Yep. So this is inspired by one we did a bit earlier. So a big 6-cylinder in the front of a Subaru like this with the all drive, with the manual gearbox, with the good diff, inspired by the original. A lot of people were probably predicting this one, but there's a lot of good reasons.
A lot of soft spots for this as well. So probably from the beginning, this is one of the first cars that I had a fair bit of involvement in.
A lot of
tuning
involvement.
part of this.
As did Haltech with the Elite, right?
Yeah, well, this for me was a bit of a big deal because it was, I'm going to say, one of the first 3 or 5 cars with the Elite Series ECU.
Yep.
Version 1 of this car.
Was the old Gen 2 version.
Yeah.
Subaru Liberty. I've had Liberties for a long time. So one of my very first cars was a Subaru Liberty. And the reasoning was you had the space in the back, you could put all your gear in. It was playing in bands. You needed to put a drum kit and amps and stuff in the back. It was just, that's how you made money. So you had that requirement. But I didn't want to drive something slow and boring.
Yeah.
So, well, what do you get that's a wagon? There wasn't really kind of crown wagons and stuff floating around Australia. Like you could get a VN or a Commodore or something, but that was a bit limited. So I'm like, okay, all drive, turbo, JDM, cool wheels, lots of mods from the WRXs, and that's what got me into the wagon.
Super comfortable.
Yeah.
The suspension in this thing, the brake options that you've got because of the WRX platform.
Exactly.
I completely understand why this is one of those cars where the wagon form of it makes complete sense that you can chuck all your mates in and everyone fits and you can go on road trips and it just works.
So this now is a 20-year-old car. That's
Right.
what you look at and go, oh wow, this is from 2003 and we're 2023 now.
Good lines, still pretty good shape,
goes
still
all right.
everything.
Painted custom, and we pulled the whole thing apart. We stripped it. It's got an EZ36 in it with a big turbo, ethanol, Haltech, big fuel pumps, big brakes, like pretty much modified it as much as you can. The motor is still unopened because you can't get that many built options for this.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons with the Levorg, we decided to do the 3-litre flat 6 H6 because you can get all sorts of built parts for it. So the power figure with this, the last time we spun it up was 400 horsepower, 300 kilowatts. Pretty good. On like 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so the idea with the Levorg being only a 5-year-old car, and we can hopefully 1.5 at least times that power. You had this for like 2 weeks when the Elite first came out. And then I remember you sent me a photo, it was like your boat behind it down at the boat ramp. I'm like, he loves this thing.
You generously had a tow bar on it, so I thought, you know what?
Why not?
You've got to make the most of it.
Yeah.
So boat on the back, that's the weekend for me, you know. So like whether it's out in the ski boats and that sort of stuff, or whether it's in the bush riding bikes
And then
or something like
highway
that.
on ramp, 400 horsepower, let's go.
Straight. So,
But it's on. I know it's the top of your list, but it's at the top of your list.
this is not. I love this car for the flexibility,
Yeah.
but it's not my favourite.
Yeah.
And my favourite, you can't tow a boat with it. You can't put your mates in it. Well, truthfully, you probably can't even put one friend in it.
Only if they're brave.
Yeah. Not much air conditioning going on, like not much safety, not many airbags, but of the whole thing, the coolness of it, the look, the styling, the colour.
I think I know where this is
going.
Like, should we just look at it?
Let's go. I'll show you what my favourite one is.
Here it is. I think I get it, but you tell me why.
It's cool. This is it. For me, this is what a sports car is. Like, I just think this is the coolest looking thing. And to get in this and cruise around on a Sunday, you can't do a heap of the stuff that you do every day, but this is a Sunday car, and I just think it's so cool that it overrides everything else that I need in a car.
But as someone who's tunes cars, I mean, the purity police will tell you, oh, that doesn't have the original 2-litre with the side draft Webers, and that doesn't have the... Like, where do you stand on that? Because this has a GTR engine in it.
Have you ever driven one of these with an L series in it? Fuel injected, turbocharged, clean emissions, reliable. Sometimes things need a birthday, and in this case, this is one where it just needs a birthday.
It absolutely got a birthday. Engine, gearbox, rear end, suspension, wheels, brakes, like the whole lot. And it's my favourite thing to do to a car, especially of this era. Like, I'm excited to do a similar thing to my Gemini. That's my next big project. But this, particularly is a loved project, I know, for my friend, and I know you love it too.
The love of what you feel for these type of cars and the personality that you want to share and that you want to show, where driving this around, and you can see people look and think, yeah, I remember that time when, or I remember going to here, or I remember my mate had one of these, or something like that. And that feeling, and then sharing that feeling with other people. When you go to the petrol station and someone walks up and tells you about the time that they had a 240, a 260, a 280, whatever the case, it's nice, you know, that's sharing, that's the car community, and that's why I think this is my favourite. This is the coolest car. This is the one. Holy sh... And that's what a project car is. It's the feeling you get when you get in that car. It's not all about the specs and the numbers and the costs and all of the stuff you could write down on a piece of paper. It's about how you feel when you get in that car. It's about the memories you might have had of that car when you were a kid, when your mum and dad had one, or the first time that you went to school in one, or you went to the school formal and got picked up in one of those cars, and now you've got one of those cars and you can modify it and make it drive the way you want it to drive. You can modify it and bring it into the 21st century, and you can put a modern engine, and you can put fuel injection and electronic throttles and all the good stuff. You can reinvent that car into the style of car that you wanted when you were a kid. And that, to me, is what modifying's all about.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, smash that like button. We put out a new video every week, and sometimes even two. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awesome content.